Hey everybody, my name is Matt. You're watching Broke Rednecks Prepping. We're here in Spur, Texas, and what I want to do with you today is I'm putting together a new kind of get-home bag for my vehicle. I want to go through kind of what I keep in it and give you all a little explanation of why. Now, before I go into this, some of the things you're going to want that I'm not necessarily putting in the bag are going to be seasonal sensitive. If it's wintertime, you want to have a thick coat. If it's summertime, you probably don't. I'm also assuming that you have comfortable shoes already. I work in hiking boots because I'm outside pretty much all day at work, so they're comfortable to walk in. If you go to work in heels or really uncomfortable shoes, you probably want to think about having something more comfortable. Now, this is not a bag for shit hits the fan, and this is not a bag for the zombie apocalypse. What this is a bag for the kind of things that happen to people all the time. We've all been stranded on the side of the road, either because our vehicle broke down or because of weather issues. Where we come from in Houston the last few years, we've had some rough weather, microbursts, tornadoes, floods, hurricanes, that sort of thing. And we found ourselves, we had to either hitchhike or walk quite a ways, have a friend come get us. Now, if you find yourself in a situation where you're going to have to walk home, it's important that you have a few things with you. Now, this is my get-home bag, and I work in the desert. So, because I work in the desert, some of this stuff is kind of towards that. If you work in areas that get a lot more rain, if you're from Seattle, you're probably going to want to do some things like upgrade the poncho or some of that. But anyway, I'll give you a rundown of where my head's at on a get-home bag, and hopefully it'll get you thinking. First thing you're going to need for a good get-home bag is the bag. Now, this is a fairly inexpensive backpack. You can buy good ones at Walmart. I got this one for $29. They call it tactical, I guess because it's black, but it's basically a backpack with multiple compartments. It also has a small waist strap on the bottom. You don't need a whole lot, but if you're going to have to walk a good ways, and it wouldn't be unusual in my circumstance that I'm somewhere 20 miles from the nearest town or 5 miles from the nearest paved road. I mean, that's happened a couple times. So I want something that if I have a little weight in the backpack, it's going to put it on my hips. If you've ever tried to walk home with just the shoulder straps with some weight in the backpack, it gets to you after a while. I know we all did it in elementary and junior high, but I'm too old for that shit. Anyway, first thing you want to do is go out and get yourself a decent backpack. You don't have to spend a lot of money, but get something with a waist strap, something with some good padded shoulder straps. Try it on ahead of time. Make sure it fits, make sure it's comfortable. Don't spend a whole lot of money unless you just really want to or have money you just want to spend. And if you've got money you don't want, call me. Anyway, like I say, first thing we need is a backpack. Going down that, I also then kind of prioritize with the fact that you're going to be walking. Now, my fat ass doesn't walk anywhere I don't have to. So, when I do walk, it kind of wears on me. And the most important thing any of us can have if we're walking long distances is good fresh water. As we say in the desert, you always ask yourself, are you hydrated? And you ask yourself if you're hydrated enough. Anyway, I have 2 bottles of water here. The reason that it's only 2, knowing that I have to walk longer distances, is I keep a cooler in my work truck at all times, and I consider myself out of water, about a 6-pack in it, and I go get another case and put it in. So I would have the ability to grab 8-10 bottles of water. But you need to figure wherever you are, if you're going to walk, you need at least a bottle of water for every mile or 2, depending on what kind of shape you're in. So, when you're packing your get-home bag, we're going to throw a couple bottles of water in it. Because just because I always have water in my cooler doesn't mean that my truck's not going to break down the one day that I'm like, crap, I need water, and I go to the store later. Would be my luck, I'd get a flat on the way to the store. Anyway, people also tend never to think when walking long distances that they're going to burn more calories than their body's used to. If you're accustomed to sitting at a desk, you're probably not accustomed to walking 5-10 miles down the road. So I actually, and I rotate these out every few months, which is why we're doing this. This is a new one. I keep these Nature Valley bars. They're basically oatmeal and pecan for this one. Sometimes they have chocolate chip in them. I like those. But they're good, healthy, quick calories. They're not going to weigh you down. You can eat one, get some energy in you, get a nice little boost. But at the same time, it's not like hitting the Golden Corral buffet where you need a nap afterwards. And I get these, this is a box of 12 of them, about $3 at the store. Not a bad investment, and even if you don't break down, you've always got a snack. Now, because you know what a health nut I am after seeing those, I also have a handful of Jack Link's beef jerky. Because just because you broke down the side of the road and have to walk a long ways doesn't mean you shouldn't have beef jerky. Sometimes bacon jerky, but whatever my mood is. Now, something else, if, as I mentioned earlier, with shoes. A lot of people have work shoes that are a little dressier and they've got thin socks or something like that. If you have that, pack the extra pair of shoes. If not, even if you've got comfortable shoes, always have an extra pair of socks. Very rarely do we run into a situation where somebody says we're going to be in inclement weather that it doesn't involve rain. I don't care if it's a tornado, a hurricane, a windstorm in the desert, it usually rains right after. Your feet also get sweaty walking long distances, and there are very few joys and pleasures in life like a good, fresh, clean pair of socks. So I keep at least one extra pair of socks in here. Somewhere I can quick and get to, that way if my feet get wet or I just need them, they're right there. I also, when a lot of people wonder about this, pack a pair of work gloves. Now, I have work gloves that I use in my truck, but 1 is none, 2 is 1, and 3 is better. I want to go ahead and always in my go bag have a good pair of work gloves. I got in a situation a few years back where we had a microburst. And for those of y'all who don't know what it is, it's basically a big downward explosion of wind. Looks like a reverse mushroom cloud that blows everything away. I had a 2-year-old in the car with me, and I was trying to get back to the house, and all the roads were covered with downed branches, things like that. Now, I didn't want to grab the 2-year-old and walk I guess it was about 4 miles back to the house. Wasn't really any way I could go in other directions. You had power lines down and some of that. I ended up having to stop in a couple spots and clear some branches out of the road because I was in a car at the time, you know, little Nissan, I think it was a Sentra with itty bitty tires. Anyway, I had to clear some stuff out the road. Wear gloves when you do it. I know that we're all big manly men and we can go clear a branch, but 1, there's thorns on them. We have a lot of mosquito around here, and 2, you never know what's going to be under the branch. So just get yourself a good pair of work gloves. You can get a pack of 12 of these for like $10 at Walmart. So have a pair or 2. They are handy. Now, I'm not going in a huge particular order, so if I jump around, forgive me. I always like to keep a phone charger in my bag. Now, a lot of us have chargers that are specific to the car, or we have it with this little connector here, USB connector. Because like my work truck and hell, even the trailer I stay in when I'm out in the desert, I don't even need the wall plug in, I can just stick this in. However, if I get stuck somewhere and I'm going to have to go to a hotel, think an off-the-wall natural disaster like a tornado, the wildfires we recently had in California, something like that where you've got to evacuate. Most places are not only going to have a USB thing, have the plug-in. Even if you can't get a hotel for the night, I can guarantee you a convenience store or somebody is going to let you plug your phone in to get a little juice. And a lot of times, a cell phone, if you can get signal after such a disaster, is going to be your main ability to navigate and to let family or friends know where you are so they can come to get you, or check out Safe on Facebook. We make fun of that a lot of times, but in the event of a natural disaster, it is a really helpful resource, but you can't do any of that if you can't get power to your stuff. And if I'm going to walk 20 miles from between, say, Orla and Kermit, somewhere in the middle, I want my iTunes. I mean, I'm not going to be able to pull that off without Fleetwood Mac. Now, I know I just said I work in the desert, and you guys are like, why does he have a sweatshirt? It's just a normal little sweatshirt. It's an old one. Got this, I don't know, I was younger. It's not even a hoodie. I have it for 2 reasons. 1, especially after stormy weather, you'll notice after a big storm or a hurricane, it gets colder at night than you're accustomed to. In the desert, it may drop 30, 40 degrees at night. Having just something to keep you warm is great. If you don't need it because you've got a jacket or something, you can roll it up and it makes for a pretty good pillow. I've had to do that a time or 2 in the truck. Now, as we discussed, anytime you hear the term inclement weather, you almost always think rain of some sort. Not always, but usually. I went to Academy and I bought a $5 rain poncho that I can fit over my backpack and it'll go down mid-leg. Now, I know some of these channels will teach you how to make a tent out of this that you can live in for 6 years while you're hiding from the government. I'm not going to do that, but if it's raining and you got to walk, it sucks to walk when you're soaking wet. So, grab yourself a little poncho, doesn't weigh but a couple ounces. You're not going to notice it's there, but you will miss it if you don't have it. Even if you just want to grab a couple of those and keep them in your car, you never know what's going to happen. Now, I have the ever important toilet paper. Toilet paper is good for so many things. 1, the obvious, but if you're stranded somewhere for a little while, eventually you're going to have to go to the bathroom on the side of the road, and roll of toilet paper can't go wrong. It's also good for wiping off cuts or scratches or things like that, or just having for stuff. But the point is, a good roll of toilet paper and get the 2-ply. Because, friends, if you are stuck in a Category 5 hurricane that blows everything around you to hell and back, there is no excuse for cheap toilet paper. You want the good stuff. Spend the money now. Travis back there shaking his head because he was glad I thought of that once upon a time. Something else. Good flashlight. This is a $25 LED rechargeable flashlight that I bought at Tractor Supply for $25-ish. I've had it for a couple years. They work like a charm. It's metal. This one even has a little gun mount on it. You can put on a handgun. I don't because I think that's dumb. But you can if you want to, and if you like that idea, then by all means. But anyway, I think everybody should have one of these. Getting stuck on the side of the road at night, your alternator goes out, your car battery's dead. These things can come in handy both for not just for walking, because I mean it is handy for walking, seeing what's in front of you. It's good company because I mean I've been an outdoorsman all my life, but I still hear a twig break in the woods, and I think it's Bigfoot coming to eat me. So it's handy to have one. It's also great for flagging people down. If you're on the side of the road at night, they're not going to see you till the last minute. Get one where you can flash a light, cars can see you, that sort of thing. Good $25 flashlight will save you a lot of headaches. And this particular type, and a lot of the LEDs do, come with not just the wall chargers, they also come with a car charger. So when I was a police officer, I had a similar model, polystrion and the Stingers. They all came with a car charger. We kept one plugged in our car at all times. Still had one on our belt, but we had an extra because remember, 1 is none, 2 is 1, and 3 is better, but get yourself a flashlight. It's handy, and I'm going to put this over in this little pocket so it's a little easier to get to. Now, as I mentioned, I've lived through a couple natural disasters, and I'm not going to make the gun the last thing on the list because I do consider it important. But I'm a concealed carry holder. I encourage everybody to get it. It's a good, solid thing to have. But if you're ever stuck and you have to walk a long distance, we had a flood a few years back down near Houston. We lived in a town called Sealy. And it flooded one of the roads near our house, near a road called Ricefield, because there's rice fields everywhere. What ended up happening is all the alligators came up to the road to get out of the water. I mean, you wouldn't think it, but apparently the alligators want to get out of the water too. You're going to see that after a lot of natural disasters, be it a hurricane or tornado. You're going to have wildlife, loose dogs. It's also very possible you're going to run into some road threats, think some rioters or some other people that are stuck and want something you have. Even so, you'll probably never in your life have to use this thing, but if you ever need it, you really want it. So get yourself a good paddle holster that you carry walking, something you can kind of conceal, something you can work with. This is a Smith & Wesson M&P Model 2 9mm. Got a 15-round magazine, good grips, solid gun. Whatever you're comfortable with is fine, but a good gun, friends, is really hard to beat if you are stuck in a bad place. I have a knife too. I believe it was General Mad Dog Mattis that said always carry a knife. You never know when you're going to have to cut a piece of cheesecake or stab somebody. Now, I've never in a disaster situation had to cut any cheesecake, but I have had to cut other things. I've had chunks of wire or brush get caught up under my truck. Things like that. If you're going to cut a bandage, you're putting an ace bandage on, something like that, or you're doing something you're taping over, having a knife you can cut some things with is really handy. Now, this isn't a bag to where if you get stuck, you can build a campfire and wait for somebody to come get you. But if you do decide you need a campfire somewhere to hole up, something like that, we've had some pretty heavy blizzards in the Midwest, Northeast over the last few years where they found people stuck in cars for days or huddled under an overpass. And if you wanted to skin some kindling to get a fire started, you could. But as Gibbs says, rule number 9, always have a knife. So, as always, I agree with Leroy Jethro Gibbs, and I always have a knife. Also along the self-defense line, I have pepper spray. Now, I carried pepper spray in security and as a police officer, and it is a handy deal. I don't carry this little, I think I got this little saber, it's $9 at Academy. I didn't carry this because I necessarily want to pepper spray people, but if you're in a position where you can't carry a handgun, pepper spray is usually legal. If you're in a bad situation where there's some people you need to get rid of, it is hard to beat pepper spray. However, you're also going to find walking long distances, especially in rural areas, you're going to have dogs coming up barking at you, maybe nipping at your heel because they consider the road in front of their house part of their property. Last thing you want to do in the country is go around shooting people's dogs. But if you don't want to get bit, little $9 thing of pepper spray is handy. So, and it's something most people, I can hold it in my fist, people wouldn't necessarily see it. I had a small one like this as a peace officer where I could hold it in my fist and kind of keep my hands covered where I could come out with it. It's pretty simple. It's got a little lever and you push down. That's all there is to it. It's good for about 10 to 15 feet. I don't see why you'd need to pepper spray anybody or anything at a longer distance than that unless, no, I can't think of any reason. If they're still afraid at that distance, shoot them. Anyway, it's something to think about. Now, I have some really awesome mouthwash. Now, this is Dr. Kitchener's, I believe is how it's pronounced, I don't know. Anyway, it's basically jet fuel mixed with lighter fluid. And if you've got a cut on the inside of your mouth, friends, this mouthwash will fight it. It's got a really high alcohol concentration. But mouthwash can go in place of toothpaste if you want to limit weight. It's also a really good disinfectant. If you do get some cuts on your hands or something like that, or anywhere else, this particular brand will be an excellent disinfectant and help clean the wound. And I always keep a toothbrush with me because I'm anal-retentive about brushing my teeth too much. And I have deodorant. Now, I have these three things in tandem because if you are stranded somewhere, and I'm sure in most people's adult lives, they've been stranded somewhere where they've had to spend the night, have some toiletries with you. I mean, most hotels are going to have a towel you can use or something else, but especially in a natural disaster situation where stores are down and that sort of thing, they may not have toothpaste or deodorant for you, and just because the world's falling apart around you doesn't mean you need to smell that. So, brush your teeth. I also have some Claritin liquid gels. These are for me. The reason I carry them is specific to me. With the allergens we have where I am out in the desert, if I'm going to have to walk somewhere, dust storm, tornado, it's going to blow up some allergens. And I'm really going to want my allergy meds because, well, I don't want my nose getting stopped up or getting a headache. But it just makes things a little bit more comfortable. Why be miserable if you don't have to? Why let an allergy attack wear down your energy level? It's not cool. I have a nifty little compass watch thingy. It's fairly simple. It's a little cheap one, $3 at Academy. That you can put on and wear just like a watch, like so. I'm going to do it right now. But the reason I do this, the reason I keep it around, and something this is not precise, you're not going to do overland orienteering with it. But a lot of people think they know where they're going when they drive places. I take a ride on route, 855, then turn right on FN 616 or whatever. And we get really accustomed to viewing everything like we're from a car. When you're out walking, you may have noticed going for walks, the scenery changes a little bit. That house is a little bigger than you thought. This road's a little further than you remembered. And after a lot of natural disasters, the aforementioned microburst we had, or Hurricane Harvey, one of the things that was not available were street and road signs. Simply because every time you see the Weather Channel with that Yahoo who's always on the coast walking sideways because the wind's so bad, every time you know it's real, it's because you're seeing stop signs and street signs going by. If you're stuck in one of those situations, especially if, in my case, if I'm walking from, say, Orla to Kermit or Orla to Mentone or one of those little towns out in the desert, it's easy for me to know that I'm headed west. All right, I don't turn on this road because that's headed north and I need to go west. I can have a general direction, but it keeps me basically oriented. It's not something you're going to put on a map and, go 108 degrees due north or something. But it is something that'll keep you on track because, and I cannot emphasize this enough, finding your way around an area you don't know really well, think you live in a small town but work in a city, can be tricky after a major storm. Because as often as not, the signs are blown around, they're twisted, things like that. You're not just going to be able to rely on, well, I drive through here every day. Something else that I keep is cash. This is $40 in cash. It's not a lot of money, but I keep it specifically in my go bag. Now, I usually have cash in my pocket to spend here and there, but my luck will happen that a natural disaster, I'll get stranded, will occur when I just spent my last 20 bucks and I was going to hit the bank tomorrow. Keep a little bit of cash. It doesn't have to be a lot, but think a meal, or if you work somewhere, in a city a long ways from home, where you could get a hotel for the night or something along those lines. 50 or 100 bucks would be great. And the simple reason for it is, as we discovered after hurricanes and the microburst and the tornado, and a couple of floods and some various other things, your cards don't work when there's no power. Now, you can walk into a lot of restaurants, they can't take your card, but they have something for you to eat. You can walk into a convenience store. They'll sell you something for cash, but they can't take your part. And that's something that a lot of people don't think about. I remember back when Hurricane Ike hit Galveston, Houston area, I was a police officer in a little town called Sealy. And we had, all the systems were down. We had electricity, but the card swiping system was down. And one of the things that happened is you had people throwing a fit because they couldn't get a hotel for a couple days. They couldn't buy anything at the store because all of their money was in plastic. 20 or 30 bucks goes a long way when you're hungry or when you're stranded somewhere. So have a little cash, just something as a backup. Anyway, that's my 2 cents on my get home from work or get home from wherever I'm going back. I keep one of these in my truck at all times. Keeps me from, make sure I have everything I need. Anyway, if you guys have some things you think I should add to it, I'm open to suggestions. And if you guys have questions, feel free to ask. Remember, it's Broke Rednecks Prepping. Like, subscribe, comment, let us know what you think. Thank you.